Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is episode 51. Shacknews presents Pop Goes the Culture. I am Donovan Erskine, news editor at Shacknews. I am joined, as always, by Greg Burke. Greg, it's Thursday today.
It's Thursday, and I was telling you before as I was scrambling to get everything ready for this show, I got a new light. I had a washer fiasco this morning. Even Buffy's had some issues that I'm dealing with, so... But it is Thursday. Yes, that is correct. It is Thursday.
Yeah, it is a statement of fact.
It is.
To quote The Office.
This is not wrong.
Yeah, so Thursdays we do our Pop Goes the Culture here. This is episode 51. On this show we talk about film, television, a little bit of comics and stuff here and there. Pretty much everything in the world of entertainment that's not video games, because we got enough of that content here on Shack News. Except for music. We don't really do a lot of music because neither Greg or I or myself are very well versed in music, but it comes up every once in a blue moon. Greg, we have some interesting stories here. I'm actually excited because we have some stories of stuff we don't really talk about on the show. We do a lot of trailers, a lot of like casting announcements and show and movie announcements. But we've got some stories in here that are a bit weird. So our first one, and this is going to take some explaining. Fans of Ana de Armas are suing Universal over the 2019 movie Yesterday. So, Greg, long story short, this movie Yesterday came out a couple years ago now, 2019, and the trailer showed Ana de Armas, who you'll know as she's the main girl in Knives Out, which I love. She's in like new James Bond, but she's in the trailer for Yesterday. And a couple of Ana de Armas fans went to go see the movie because they like that actress, and she wasn't in it. She got cut. And now they have filed a lawsuit against Universal Studios for false advertising or misleading advertising or something along those lines. They filed official court documents in San Diego, California. And you know what's actually crazy is now that I'm reading this, one of the kids are not kids, but one of the people are from Maryland. Connor Wolf, 38 of Maryland.
Is it you? Then... Is that your alias, Connor Wolf? That sounds like an alias, Connor Wolf.
It does sound like a pseudonym. But the crazy thing to me is I didn't even know that Ana de Armas was in the marketing for this movie. I actually saw Yesterday, and I can talk about it more in a couple minutes. But I thought the story was so funny that like a lot of people were talking about it. But I'm curious, Greg, what do you think about these fans suing Universal for misleading?
I mean, what would I say? Good for them because they found a loophole to get rich. I mean, they won $5 million. Like any normal human being would be like, whatever. I can't believe she got cut. But they were just like, I think we can profit off this. That's maximum capitalism right there. You can't fault them for that. That's pure capitalism. Take advantage of that fucking mistake. Yeah. $5 million? Well, it's a drop in the hat for Universal. They don't care. They'll pay it.
Well, here's the thing, though. They haven't been awarded yet. That's what they're looking. That's what they're seeking is $5 million on behalf of affected viewers. But this line is so funny. Where it says, they said they each paid $3.99 to rent the film on Amazon Prime. But after watching the 2019 movie, the pair discovered that the Armas was removed from the final cut, and the duo felt like they, and this is in quotation marks, were not provided with any value for their rental or purchase. As they put in the lawsuit.
$4. They paid $4.
Oh, this is great. It's funny. It's funny for a couple reasons. One, like, I really like Ana de Armas. She's actually a very good actor. Again, I know it's like a Knives Out is like a meme on the show at this point, but like she's excellent in that movie. She's really great in the new James Bond film, No Time to Die. She's a great talent, and she actually does have a very rabid fan base. Like every now and then, like you'll go to the wrong side of Twitter and you'll see like those like fan accounts where it's like they got her profile picture and their whole account is dedicated. They're like, there's a bunch of those out there. She does have a very rabid fan base, so I do find it very fitting that it's fans of her that are doing this of all actors. But it's funny, right? Because like this happens like in movies, like people get their roles cut from films all the time. Hours and hours of stuff gets left on the cutting room floor. She must have had like a subplot or something that got left behind that they didn't include. Which, I mean, they're not obligated to. And, I mean, it's also not the first time the movies have had stuff in the trailer that didn't end up in the final thing, which studios usually get away with. But it is funny to see someone trying to get back at the studio for it. But, Greg, I'm curious. Have you heard of this movie Yesterday? Have you seen it? Do you know what this is about?
No. I mean, I'm sure you're gonna tell me. I'm gonna think it's similar, but no, I don't. I've never heard of Yesterday.
Yeah, so it came out 2019, and it's essentially about this guy in England. I don't know if he's in London. He's somewhere in England, but pretty much he wakes up one day and the Beatles, the famous band, the Beatles, never existed. Like he wakes up
Oh
and everything
yeah.
about
Okay.
yeah, everything about his world's the same, but the Beatles never existed. Nobody's ever heard of them or remembers them, but he remembers like all of their music and stuff. So then he starts like singing their songs, and he becomes like this famous musician because he's singing like all these brilliant songs that the Beatles wrote and released over the years. Um, and then I guess drama ensues from there. But I actually watched this over the pandemic, like maybe around a year ago. It was probably right around when we started the show, so maybe a little bit earlier than that. But it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's got some charm to it. As somebody who like, I mean, I'll just say I don't really give a damn about the Beatles. I can name like three Beatles songs probably, and maybe sing one. I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the movie. It's one of those movies where it's fun. Like they were talking about Black Adam, and they were talking about Rampage, which he's done. He's done a couple of video game movies at this one. He's done Doom way back, and then he did Rampage. And he told them in the interview that he's working on another movie inspired by a video game, but he can't say which one. Like he didn't say which one it was yet. He was like, it'll be revealed soon. But I can actually give you the quote here. But this essentially prompted like a whole like day wide speculation fest on Twitter. Okay, he said, I've always been a big Madden fan, but he's like, I can't tell you what game in particular we're gonna do, but there will be an announcement this year. We're going to bring one of the biggest, most badass games to screen, one that I've played for years. I'm really excited to bring it to fans around the world. Of course, we're going to do right by our gamer friends, which is a weird term. But really, we're just going to make a great movie. So then
Dude,
everybody was like, oh,
what a
well, what
fucking
movie?
clusterfuck this whole thing is. With like you said one word and out the internet just ran wild, like completely wild, and you're like, dude, relax. Like,
That became the trend, was like everybody's trying to guess what movie he was gonna, or what game they were turning into a movie. And I mean, a lot of it was memes. I saw people saying like randoms like Donkey Kong Country and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, like saying E.T. the game, the movie. Um, but yeah, it's interesting though, because when he, I guess it's his line about when he's like one of the biggest, most badass games to screen, and you start like running through like the franchise in your head, and it's like at this point, a lot of the big ones have gotten like their or movie adaptation or TV show adaptation, or at least an attempt at one. Um,
the yeah,
so yeah,
it's interesting that The Rock is at peak. Like the only way, like he's the peak celebrity fandom right now. Like he is like the probably most highest paid and popular actor in Hollywood that people go see. I guess I
oh
could
yeah,
can compare him to
sure.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the late '80s. Like he was just after Terminator, he was everywhere.
Mm,
You know what I mean? He was just everywhere. Like he just
mm,
skyrocketed, and people would go see movies just for him. And but the difference is, I mean, Arnold's done his fair share of like bad movies too, but like I think The Rock's done a lot more bad movies. Like Journey to the Center of the Earth 2, where they're not even going to the center of the Earth, which makes no. Wait, no, they call it The Fate of Atlantis or some stupid shit or something like that.
it's Journey. It's like
The
Journey
Forbidden Island.
to,
Terrible
yeah.
film. Terrible film.
Uh,
Meant for
oh yes,
kids.
it's the Mysterious Island. Yeah, yeah. I
Meant
saw
for
it as a kid.
kids. Yeah.
Well, I was 14, so I guess I don't know. Young enough. I was 14, but it had Vanessa Hudgens in it, which I quite liked.
Dutch Hutchinson.
Vanessa Hudgens. Hudgens. She
But
was in yeah, Josh Hutcherson. He was in it too. He's great. He was in Bridge of Terabithia, but you know, um,
he's done 93 films currently in production and all this other stuff. So
mm,
he's done a lot of stuff. But going back to like his early career, which is in the late or mid 90s, is all his wrestling stuff.
yeah,
Wrestling, and then it's not until 2001 that he gets like his big break. Like, I mean, he was already a huge wrestler to be fair, but like it wasn't until The
yeah.
Mummy Returns he
Oh,
got
okay.
introduced into Hollywood as like uh, a villain or a big character, and then it just kind of just fucking the snowball just gets gigantic and rolls down the hill with The Rundown, Walking Tall, Doom. I mean, like he's
Yeah.
gets smart, like he just fucking explodes. You know what I mean? And just it's
Mhm.
interesting to see, like it takes time. Like in '96 he was a pretty big wrestler in the '90s, but like he didn't get his first break until 2001. So that shows you how long
Yeah.
what is that, 7 years? Oh, sorry, 5 years. That's not that long actually. How long have I been doing this? Am I
I
doing
mean,
something wrong? 11 years? Where's my $1 million check? Yeah.
um,
So
it's weird because like The Rock has been one of the most famous people on the planet for as long as I can remember in my life. Because obviously I grew up in the 2000s, but like I was never a big wrestling fan, but like he was huge. Even as somebody who didn't like follow the WWE that much, like I had like a The Rock action figure, and I had like the WWE games. But even in movies and stuff, like I remember he did the Game Plan, which would have been like '07, '08, maybe '06, somewhere like mid 2000s, which was like a movie he did with Madison Pettis, who's on Disney Channel. But he was always like in stuff growing up, and you're right, he is like the biggest actor that'll like drive people to see movies and stuff, which I think is pretty fascinating. Like in 2022, because there's not that much of that anymore. Like you mentioned, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but there are a lot of actors like that, like Tom Cruise, like a lot of box office draw
I know
actors.
Vin Diesel was a
Uh,
box office draw for a while, but he
yeah,
kind of became poison
yeah,
outside the Fast and Furious series, and no one will work with him.
but now it's like I don't think there's that many actors like that now in general. I think now it's more so franchises. Like it's not about like putting this actor in your movie. It's just about like if it's Star Wars, if it's Harry Potter, if it's Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, DC, Marvel, Pixar, stuff like that. Is why it's like that's the stuff that people consistently show up for, not so much actors. You know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too. Some of the like some like San Andreas was not a good film, and they're making a second one, and that's disappointing. But it made money. I guess that's what. Well, what am I talking about? Of course, it
Greg, you
made
weren't,
money.
Greg, you weren't a fan. You weren't a fan of San Andreas.
No,
I have to admit I never saw it, but I love disaster movies, so maybe I should see it. I know like what it's about and whatnot, but I never checked out. I just know that it had The Rock and Alexandra Daddario with it.
I
He
think
also did a movie with Nev Campbell, who doesn't show up in a lot of stuff these days.
there was a joke on some reviewer site that says like I think The Rock is contractually obligated to jump off a burning building to something. It doesn't matter what it is because he does it in Rampage, he does it in Skyscraper, he does it in San Andreas. It's just like it's so like copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. You know, you know. I don't think he does. He even jumps in Jumanji. He jumps from the floor to a helicopter, right? So like he even jumps in that one.
He probably jumps in Fast and Furious too a couple of
Yes,
times if I had to guess.
yes. Probably jumps in Jungle
Um,
Cruise as well. I mean Pirates of the
Jungle
Caribbean
Cruise.
6. I mean Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise. They're making another one of those too. Jungle Cruise was a successful movie. I
Bar
like
is
it
the
because I
bar
actually said
is
that on
low.
record. I said that on this show.
The Jungle
Um,
Cruise is a good movie. Oh,
yeah,
Donovan.
it's enjoyable. It's a good family film. You haven't seen it.
It's a
Good.
high octane
It's a good.
thoroughbred. It's
But
it's
no, it's not.
it's Pirates of the Caribbean, but just in the Jungle Cruise. It's literally what it is. You've seen
It's
Pirates
not
of
a
the Caribbean,
crime.
right? Cursed
It's
pirates.
different than Pirates.
Cursed pirates. They have to break the curse. It's the same thing. It's very similar. It's like
I don't know if they were pirates though.
they were
They
conquistadors.
were like animals and stuff.
They were conquistadors.
There was more to it than that. There were like weird animals and whatnot. And then the one dude was from the past, and they had like the tiger that was in the boat and whatnot. Emily, Emily Blunt, yeah, that's what
I
it
mean,
was.
I'm
She was also very
very. I
good.
mean, I don't like the AAA Hollywood production stuff. So that's just me, and that's a good generalization. Like if it's deliberately made with an algorithm to put out for lowest common denominator audiences, I'm not into it. Like I just pass. You know, Jumanji, The Next Level, Jungle Cruise. I watched Free Guy and hated every second of that. We've talked about that in the show before, though. Skyscraper,
It's
San
true.
Andreas. I mean, everything. Like just I don't know. It's just not my bag at all.
It's true, but you also hate everything, so that's also a part of it.
I
That
don't
also
hate
factors into
everything.
the
Just that we always talk about the popular stuff on the pop culture stuff, and that's stuff I don't like. Which
yeah,
is ironic.
I bring up smaller movies and creators all the time. We just talked about Bong Joon Ho last week.
When we talk about
Um,
Netflix and Hulu
I-
and them doing their little mud at the
yeah,
wall and how some of it works and some of it doesn't, that's fine. But like I like the thing is that I'll give that a chance. Like I'll sit down and like there's no way in hell you'd get me to watch San Andreas 2. Like not in there's no fucking way in hell I'd ever watch that, even if it was free. Like you're not gonna get me to sit down for 2 hours and
what if
watch
they
The
put
Rock.
the Ghostbusters in it?
No. That's worse. That's worse.
That's worse.
That makes it worse. Don't do that. That makes it much worse.
You say that. I don't know. I think you would go see it.
No.
What if they made The Rock a Ghostbuster?
They'd never do
Ghostbusters
that.
Afterlife 2.
A franchise is in its own
Never.
little corner of the universe, and the more I think about Afterlife, the more that I'm disappointed in what they could have done with it and what they didn't do and how safe they played it and how checklisty it was, and I did not like. And the more I think about it, the more I dislike it. I was just talking about that to Chris because we just finished filming today. I was like, the more I think about that film, the more I don't like it, like just because of how safe it played everything. You know, where they could have done something fun. Oh, I watched that dumb movie. Nicole made me watch that heist movie with Ryan Reynolds and The Rock.
Oh, the one with Gal Gadot in it as well. They had Wonder Woman. And
Yeah,
the one.
It's
Red Notice. Yeah.
I don't. I was like, this movie is so dumb. I just couldn't get into it at all. I was just like, how many chase scenes do you need? I just like if I was the studio exec, I'd be like, you get one chase scene, not 5, 1. Like make it count, you know, like.
Yeah, I remember they released a trailer for that, and I was like, I think I'm good. I just completely skipped it. But I think they just announced they're doing like 2 more, so I guess Netflix saw something or got enough views on it. But yeah, he at this point is like crapping out movies multiple times.
He's doing 3 or 4 movies, like you said, a year.
Yeah, he's doing a bunch. Which is why I was so surprised that like he still ended up doing Black Adam. Like they finally are shooting it now. Maybe they've even finished shooting. But like his name was attached to that movie for like 10 years. And I was like, there's no way that he ends up actually doing this. I figure it was like, with all the opportunities he has, like at some point he'll just go do something else, or he'll be in a Marvel movie or something. So I was surprised that he even like stayed attached to that project long enough to actually see it through. Because I think that's this year. I think Black Adam is coming out this year. Maybe not. Maybe I think Black Adam might be next year.
Well, what's interesting about, especially when you're his biggest actor as The Rock, like there are negotiations, so you don't want to act like you're excited ever about a project. That's why most of the conversations go directly through your agent or your representative, like in Hollywood. And this is the sign, of course, like nobody cares how this works, nobody gives a shit, but it's like important because the more you understand an industry, like game design or game development, like the more you can appreciate the work that goes into things. But people don't care. They don't want to care. They don't want to hear that The Rock, you know, doesn't manage his own social media account. They just want to pretend that The Rock is actually on his own social media account. You know what I mean? Like it's the don't look behind the curtain thing. They don't want to see behind the curtain. They just want to, you know, have their, and the same thing for like any celebrity, right? You want to hope that they're nice people. And The Rock, for all general purpose, seems like a really straightforward guy. I don't know him personally. He just seems like a really nice person just in general. And that's what people want to see, right? If like the Black Adam got caught, like, you know, having a gangbang in his house when his wife walked in, like no one, I'm just saying, no one would want to see that. No one would want to paint that picture of Dwayne Johnson, right? They'd be like, no, that doesn't happen. That didn't happen. Then they would get to the denial part. Oh, he's not like that. It was a one-time thing. He didn't mean it. He was on drugs or whatever, you know, like they make excuses. But he would never do that because he's just a straight up, seems like a really genuine, all-around nice person. So, like I said, I don't know him personally. Do you know him, Donovan? Do you know him personally?
I know. No, I can't say that I know Dwayne Johnson. No, I'm familiar with a lot of his work.
Just because we're on this topic, Joe Magnan in Yellow is a super nice guy. Like he is like almost creepily nice. Like he's so nice. He's just nice and polite, and it's like I'm talking to a human being. You know what I mean? Like, and that's nice. Like it's nice to see someone like that. You know what I mean? Where like other people who I will not name on the show that I've interviewed have been like very egocentric, very like weird, very like obscure, very eccentric. And it's just like, okay, like I'm just asking you a question about your new movie. You don't need to be weird. You know what I mean? Like just like, but like, yeah.
No, I was gonna say I've seen like Joe Magnon on like YouTube stuff. I know he does like a lot of D&D stuff. I've watched him in like one shots.
Yeah, he's super nice, super nice guy, and he's also great in How I Met Your Mother too. He plays like a bro, which is so funny because he's really like.
He's in How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, he plays like a bro, and he's like Brewski's bro. Man, I gotta go brunch. He like plays like a jarhead, which is hilarious. Not jarhead, a jock. Jarhead's a military person. Yeah. Like a jock, and he's really funny in that, and he's just a super nice guy. I mean, I'm like I said, that could just be me seeing him for the first time. Have you ever met any celebrities, Donovan, on your end that you've?
I've met a handful of people going to places like New York Comic Con and stuff. David Diggs was really cool. He was in Hamilton. And Snowpiercer. I met Jennifer Connelly. She was very intimidating. She wasn't mean. She was just very like stoic, like put together. She had a very straight face. I asked her a question, and like the look on her face, I immediately was like, "That's the stupidest question somebody's ever asked her in her life." But I don't think that was it. It was just she has a very straight face and stuff. I remember I interviewed Vanessa Morgan for a show called the Shannara Chronicles, which it was funny for me because she was an actress like I grew up watching like Disney Channel. She was on the show called Maybe She Was a Vampire, and like I was recording, and I think I put like my phone on the table, and she was like, my phone had like this huge crack in it. She was like, "Uh oh, it might be time for a new phone." And I was like, "Yep." I was like, "That's me." And I was like, I just died inside. But then I talked to her afterwards, and she was really nice. She was trying to crack with me, like took pictures and stuff.
Now, next time if you're quick, you got to be like, "Cool, are you gonna buy me one?
That's
You
what
got the
all my friends
money?
I should have
Come on,
said. I
let me
was
give me
like,
my money. Give me my money. I'll buy a phone with that money."
I should have, but I'm also not a confrontational person. I was like, I couldn't see myself doing it, but I didn't think that was funny. But I met a lot of cool people. I mean, the cast of like American Dad, they were all really, really
Oh
funny.
yeah,
What's
yeah.
the?
Voice actors are
I'm
always
drawing
super
a
nice.
yeah. I'm drawing a blank on the guy that does every voice. He's Klaus. He does like all those characters.
Seth
He's
MacFarlane.
and like not Seth MacFarlane. It's hold on. He's I'm just gonna look him up because he's in everything. D. Bradley Baker. That's who it is. D. Bradley
Oh,
Baker.
I've interviewed him. Yeah, he's super nice.
Yeah, yeah, he was really great. And he's done like a million characters at this point.
Seth MacFarlane's
But yeah,
also super nice. I mean, like we could talk about people we've met. Like again, this is all like just at first glance. You talk to him for maybe 5-6 minutes. But what I have on the screen right now is Donovan's reaction if he had to interview Ariana Grande. So that would be.
I'm glad you remembered.
Hi, I'm Ariana. And that's basically Donovan. Here to
That
talk
scene
about
is
my new
so
sequel.
Oh man, that image of that clip will never not make me laugh. That's so.
Is there anyone here?
But no, that's accurate. That would be me. Um. Oh, and Danny brings up a good point. Talk to bring things back to The Rock. He says it's probably a Fortnite movie. Yeah, it probably is. All jokes aside, I don't think it is, but they're definitely going to do one of those at some point, and I'm sure they'll have a million people in it.
I mean, dude, the problem with Fortnite, just in general, is the licensing. Like, everyone's gonna want a piece of that fucking pie. You know what I mean? Like, when you work in a movie where you have a skin, right? So sometimes there's a license fee, which is probably tens of thousands of dollars for Fortnite at this point, and then you get a percentage of each skin sold, right? That's how that works. So if they did a Fortnite movie, though, everyone's gonna want their fucking share of the profits, and then it's got to be that would be very hard to do.
I mean, I think they could work it out only because we've seen like Ready Player One did it. They had like a million characters in that movie. Lego Movie did it before Ready Player One, where they had like all those people popping up. Even Space Jam 2, as god awful as that movie was, they squeezed all their characters. And I feel like if they do a Fortnite movie, that brand's big enough that people will want to be a part of it. I think they would have an interesting cast. But that's not a matter of if. I think that's more of a matter of when. I don't think The Rock's doing Fortnite. I think he'll, even though he is in Fortnite, I think he'll do. I don't know. I wanted to like have like a guess so that I could come back and be like, yeah, I predicted it. But I'm trying to think. I'm like every big video game franchise that comes to mind, like they're already doing. I'm like Uncharted, they already made it. Assassin's Creed, they've already done it. Last of Us, they're already doing it. Like every game that I think of that it could be, it's been done. So I don't know. Like you said, an announcement is coming soon, so I'm sure we'll all be able to pile on it very soon.
It's probably Madden. The Rock and what's that other actor from SNL? I can't remember his name. He was the carrot in South Park. Not God of War.
Oh God. But Blake's saying it'll be God of War is the movie that
Rob Schneider. It'll be Rob Schneider and The Rock star in Madden 2022. And they'll make a new Madden every year and it'll just get worse and worse and worse. Like they just add on to the current movie.
I'd watch a movie that like dives into why Madden's so bad. That'd be good. Like I would be surprised if they actually are because they probably will do a God of War movie at some point, and I could see them putting fucking Dwayne Johnson in the Kratos makeup and whatnot. He's already got the bald head. But Greg, speaking of video game movies,
sorry,
we learned about another video game movie today. Well, not today, but a couple days ago. Mortal Kombat. The movie that came out last year, based on the hit video game franchise, is getting a sequel. Mortal Kombat 2 has officially been given the green light. It's going to be written by one of the folks that are working on Moon Knight. But Greg, how do you feel about a second Mortal Kombat movie? I forget how you felt about the one that came out last year.
See, here's where it gets confusing to me as a 36-year-old, because I'm old as shit. So a fan made like some really cool trailer about how he envisioned Mortal Kombat, and then that trailer got like a ton of buzz and everything, and then it kind of segued into like a web series, and the web series is actually very good. Like Johnny Cage was good. We did a bunch of promotional stuff for it. I did a bunch of interviews with the cast, and then like I remember you're talking about the movie that came out on HBO Max, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that yet. I haven't seen it. I didn't
Oh, you
watch it.
didn't?
I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't see it. I saw bits and pieces. I was like, okay, because like whenever I think about that Mortal Kombat, for some reason I go straight to that web series that everyone saw. I guess I'm just
Mhm.
because I'm old and my mind can only hold so much data, and it's constantly pushing older things out. I'm gonna forget how to eat food soon. That's so much shit's in my brain that I don't need. But I mean, I'm sure. I mean, was it good? You saw Mortal Kombat, right? Did you like it?
Yeah, I saw it. I actually wrote a review for it for Shacknews, the rare movie review on Shacknews.com. But yeah, kind of last year, I thought it was okay. I remember I said it was like good enough, like as far as video game movies. I think it gave like a 7 out of 10. Um, I thought it had some. It was like it had like some great video game references. Like I remember they did like the leg sweep spam, and there's a lot of like funny jabs at like the games and the people that play them, which I appreciated, even as not like a diehard Mortal Kombat fan. Um, I thought like the story was like it was weird, and some of like the effects and stuff were kind of weird, but there was good like fight choreography. It was decent enough that I'm curious for a sequel. Like when they announced they're doing a sequel, I wasn't like, oh god, no. Like obviously, if you've played the Mortal Kombat games, you know that there's source material up and down the wall
Oh,
from
dude, holy
different. Yeah,
the odd world and not well the other world, the nether realm, and like everything that they have to deal
yeah.
with. It's because it's really deep. Like it's gigantic. That universe is actually so rich with story and
Mhm.
like. And it centers around all these great characters because that's what it's about, right? It's about the fighters. Like when I saw the original Mortal Kombat '93, which one was the biggest movies of my life as a kid because they didn't have video game movies back then. It was one of the first ever like video game movies other than Super Mario Brothers, and it did. Did you see the original '93 Mortal Kombat?
No, we talked about that though when this one was coming out, and I
Oh, I
was
hope that's
like,
on Amazon Prime.
uh,
I really do because that's something we could
oh yeah, we
watch.
could. That'd be good. That would be a good movie
But
night.
it just blew it out of the water. It put Paul W.S. Anderson on the map, and like it made boat ton of money. Everything about it was great. Like they did everything right with that film, and they haven't been able to replicate that ever since, in my opinion. They've been that was the lightning that we talk about all the time on the show, Donovan. Lightning in a bottle. We talk about it all the time. That's what it was.
Mhm.
And it's hard. It's hard to recreate that. You could take everything and do the same thing again, but sometimes it just doesn't work. But sometimes it does, and you don't know unless you try, right? So at least they're trying. And
Yeah.
like Denny said, the sequel, the first movie, and like you said, it was okay. Like maybe they'll improve it on the second one. Maybe they'll figure out what they did wrong and improve the formula.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Danny brings up a really good point too. He said that the new Mortal Kombat it suffered from being the beginning of what they clearly want to be a universe of films. That's true. Like playing this, not playing this game, watching this movie, it definitely feels like it's supposed to be like a jumping off point for a bunch of like movies or spin-offs, or like you like it's very clear that that's like a franchise movie. Just watching it, which is feels like a weird thing to say. It's just like such a modern day filmmaking thing to say, but like watching it, it's very much a franchise movie. It's setting up a lot of stuff and a lot of characters, and also yeah, the main dude, the original character that they have as a protagonist. It was certainly a choice. He didn't like ruin the movie, but it was kind of weird. We could have probably just, I don't know, made a Mortal Kombat character the protagonist, but they made up this brand new fighter who's not bad, but I don't know,
I think
feels a bit flat.
I see that a lot in television and film, especially ones that's based off other media, whether it's a comic book, a novel, or like an old TV show, or older movie. And I think that's just writers and directors coming in and wanting to put that stamp on it. Like you want it to be you want to leave some kind of impact that makes it differently, so you're not just copying this person who did it, right? So that's I think that new character was the way of them stamping their own take on it, like their mark on the project. A lot of directors do it, and sometimes, most of the time, it turns out bad. But sometimes, it makes sense when they're trying to put their little mark on things. Tim Burton's Batman, for example, like that's a lot of that stuff he did. He changed things in the lore and stuff like that, changed the design and stuff he didn't like, and it all ended up working out. But other times, with like the Harry Potter films, specifically when things are changed, like because the director's like, I think this character should tell him how to do this, and it's like, why? Because he wants it to be different. And I think that's the key thing, right? When you just want it to be different and when it works is how you separate it.
Yeah. I mean that certainly could have been the idea there, and I don't know. I mean they tried to do something new with it, but he wasn't he wasn't like the worst, but he wasn't great. Like Danny said, maybe they'll pivot in the second movie. That's the thing about sequels; you can always learn something and apply it, or not, and just do the same stuff again. So, we'll see when that comes out. Um, Before we move forward, it's worth letting folks know tomorrow we are doing the first movie night with Pop Goes the Culture. It's going to be at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. Greg and I will be watching Spaceballs, the popular, beloved Star Wars parody comedy film. We'll be watching it right here on our Twitch channel. We'll be watching through Amazon Prime watch parties. So if you're a Prime subscriber, you'll be able to watch it right on screen with us. You'll just have to sign into your account, and then they'll put the movie right up on stream, and then we'll be in the corner, and we'll just hang out. We'll watch the movie live, react, comment on it, and whatnot. It'll be great. And even if you don't have Amazon Prime, I mean, you could always just pull the movie up on your own and then hit play when we hit play, because we'll let you know when, and you can watch it with us that way. It's a fun little thing we're going to be doing here. It's going to be the last Friday of every month, which tomorrow's last Friday of January.
And it's a movie you've never seen, right, Donovan?
Spaceballs, I feel like I saw it a long time ago. Like I remember some parts of it, but not really. Like I remember we ain't found shit. But
That's Tuvok. Tuvok says that from Star Trek. Is it Deep Space Nine or Voyager? It's Voyager. Tuvok says that. It's great. That's the Tuvok character.
Yeah.
We ain't found shit. Nailed it.
That's all I remember from it. But I don't know. It's good. My friends and I were on a kick not too long ago. We were watching like a lot of older like parody films, because we were just talking about how like parody movies are like the one true genre of film that is like dead. Like it's been killed, beaten into the ground, and like ripped to shreds. Like it's like they don't make them anymore for a reason. And we were watching some old ones. When we watched like Airplane, which is really good. I think we watched like the first Scary Movie, stuff like that.
Scary movie, superhero movie, yeah, those kind of movies that for a while with the Wayans brothers, I believe, wrote them or had they were involved in a little bit. And like some as a time capsule, like you're looking back at it, you really had to watch the movie in that year in theaters to get a lot of the jokes. Because like I mean that's what they are. Like it's parody and pop culture. South Park's the same way. Like going back and watching something now and like maybe it's in like 20 season, you're not going to understand. You'll be like, what was this? That was a thing that year. That's right. And like, so it's interesting. It's hard timed comedy that's timed around pop culture and current society is very difficult to withstand the test of time.
Yeah, for sure. Like Blake says, Airplane is a classic. Airplane was great. Like we were like laughing our asses off watching that movie, and that movie's aged great. And that came out like 35 years ago at this point. Airplane was like 80s, I think. That movie very old at this point, but it was like still hilarious. But like Scary Movie, and I stand by like the first Scary Movie. I think is fucking hilarious. I love the first Scary Movie. And maybe that's just because I love Scream, and it's like a good riff on that.
Oh, well, Anna Faris gives it her all in those films. She's amazing. She's so good in those movies.
I love Anna Faris. I don't care what anybody says.
She's great.
Good. She's good in those roles. And I'll get to my point in a second, but like those movies go places, man. Like in the sequels, they do some weird shit. And like rewatching like 3 and 4, and I didn't even bother to rewatch 5 because I couldn't put my brain through it. But like a lot of like the jokes and stuff where it's like they've got like the Michael Jackson like molestation jokes in 4, and then like the racist like Asian stereotyping jokes and like the Grudge ripoff where she's just naming like Asian brands. I'm like, God, I was like, these movies were so brain dead. It's just so like bottom of the barrel humor, like 2005 type shit. It was rough.
It's interesting too because I think comedy always toes that line. Like you're one small tiptoe away from being completely canceled and hung up by your thumbs. You know what I mean? Like so, it's really interesting. I think that's why I like Daniel Tosh a lot. Have you seen any of his stand up? Like he swings both ways of that line really dramatically. I think that for that time they're like, what would be funny? We'll make fun of him. We'll make a Michael Jackson joke. Where at the time it may have been appropriate. It's why we can't watch Ace Ventura anymore because we're not allowed to have nice things. What are we supposed to do? Like Donovan, what are you supposed to do if a movie is like not PC anymore? Do we just bury it in the backyard and never speak of it again? Like what's the protocol
watch whatever you want.
But like what are we supposed to do? Like I'm not saying what I would do. I'm just saying posing the question you guys out there in the chat. Like what are you supposed to do with like that kind of stuff if it doesn't hold up well politically? Like you know I mean you just
I mean
you know like
learn and move forward. Like I don't know, I have movies
I guess,
that I like that have bad stuff in them. I have stuff that I like that has just like even like I just said I love the first Scary Movie. There's jokes they say some stuff in the first Scary Movie where like I wouldn't say that shit. Like they make like jokes about demographics of people, stuff that I wouldn't say. But like the movies are still hilarious. Those are still that's like a classic movie to me.
I
A
still
classic
love
like parody spoof movie to me.
I still
But
love the
it's
third scary movie because he cocks that shotgun and that's the best gag in the whole fucking movie. They go,
yeah.
let's
But I mean,
go,
I
and
don't
he
know.
goes. Sorry,
Yeah.
good.
But even Airplane, which we just praised, like that movie's got like a lot of like racial jokes. Like they make like a lot of black jokes in that movie. And I'm like, I mean, today like a bunch of white writers and actors probably wouldn't get away with like some of those jokes. But I was like, that movie's still fucking hilarious. But I can watch it and be like, yeah, I mean, like that shit's probably not okay anymore, or probably was never okay.
Well,
But it doesn't mean that I'm like,
that's the problem I think
still.
with people like me is I need to look at somebody for like, is that okay? Because like I'm a cis white male, like I'm not gonna understand if something's not, you know what I mean? Like if it's painting trans people in a certain light or POCs a certain light, I'm not gonna understand that. I need Morgan Freeman to explain it to me. You know what I mean? Like I need someone to come in and be like, this is not okay because of this, and I'll be like, okay, and then like you said, learn and move on, right? That's the process.
Yeah, it's all about having a threshold there. Like I said, me
Yeah,
being
Blake's
a
right.
black person, I can watch a movie and see like, and there's black jokes and stuff in it, and I can like tell like where they're coming from, and it'll just it's a case by case basis. I mean, I've watched movies and I'm like, oh, get the fuck out of here. And then other stuff, it doesn't really bother me as much. Like yeah, like Denny and Blake are saying, yeah, acknowledge issues, and threshold's different for everybody. But yeah, I think it's just about listening,
Hmm.
listening to the
Hmm.
demographics in question and seeing what folks think. But but yes, parody movies. That this all goes back to us watching Spaceballs, which will be
We
it'll
segue. We
it's a part of.
segued.
But no, but it ties back in though because we're gonna watch Spaceballs tomorrow. It'll be fun. That movie's hilarious. But like I don't know, there might be like a weird like random like joke in Spaceballs that were like, ooh, okay. But if so, like it's all right. We'll be like, hey, and that was like 1983. Like they were
he Mel Brooks got
on some different stuff.
Mel
But
Brooks got more tame as the 70s left. So the 70s there was some
yeah,
really inappropriate stuff that he did in his movies, really inappropriate. But like of course like I mean it's funny because like you have like Mel Brooks who is white, and then you have Gene Wilder who's also white. I'm thinking of Blazing Saddles, right, where there's a lot of jokes in there that do not fly, but like they had a POC cast member and he was probably saying it's fine. And they're like, okay, I guess I guess we'll keep doing this. Like, I don't know how. I would love to know
yeah.
what went on that set, because that movie is that is a big time capsule, that movie. Have you ever seen Blazing Saddles, Donovan?
I haven't seen Blazing Saddles. When did that one come out?
1970 something, really late 70s.
Okay.
But it would be interesting.
Oh,
I would like you to watch it and then tell me if it's
yeah.
inappropriate,
Mhm.
or I'm pretty sure most of that stuff, some of the jokes are inappropriate, but I know, just like to get that verification. Like you said, I know
Yeah,
Blake's seen it.
I'd watch that. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Oh, Danny brings up a great example. He says, like Freddy versus Jason. I watched that movie to laugh, but Kelly Rowland Deaf calls Freddy something she never would now. I know the line you're talking about. And then to add on to that, Danny, in that same movie, I'm pretty sure it's Freddy versus Jason. There's like Freddy makes like a black joke to Kelly Rowland's character, right? Or it was another character in the movie, like when I forget if he kills her, if he's about to fight her. Because I rewatched that movie a couple years ago with some friends, and that scene comes up, and I'm like, oh man, I was like, oh hell no. But it's yeah, it's about intention, and again, it's a case by case basis. Like some stuff is funny, some stuff isn't. It's you know,
Are you talking about the
you
Freddy
gotta.
versus Jason? Are you
It's
talking about the thing that Freddy says to one of the survivors? Because I think I know what you're talking about. Or are you
Well, there's
talking?
both, and I'll just say it. There's a line that Kelly Rowland calls Freddy that was inappropriate, but then there's a line where Freddy calls her dark meat when he's like about to
Yeah,
attack her. He's like walking up
that's
to
the
her. Yeah,
line. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
And
didn't
I
want
hear
to
that, I was
say it.
like,
I didn't
yeah.
want
But
to
even
say it
like
because I'm white. I don't want to say that
I,
word.
I rewatched that a couple years ago, and I was like, oof. I was like, man, that has not aged well in like the short like 12 years it's been since Freddy vs. Jason
I was
came
like, if
out.
that was me, I'd be like, oh, you're fucking dead. And he fucking charges him like, nobody calls me that, you son of a bitch.
Blake said Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart once said he couldn't describe hardcore pornography, but that I know it when I see it. Uh, yeah, that's true though. That's true. Like it's just you know it when you
Mhm.
see it. Like I can hear someone tell a joke, and maybe it's like a black joke or like a bold, brave joke, and I can tell like when they're actually being funny and clever, and when they're just like shitting on minorities or disabled people or gay people or transgender people. Right? It's just about awareness, I think, is what it essentially comes down to. And with that in mind, folks, if you've got a movie in mind that you think we should watch for pop culture movie nights, which I have like a different name for it every time I say it, I should really nail that down. But if you have an idea, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, rattle it off in the chat, post it on Chatty, Cortex. Reach out to us on Twitter. I'm Donovan Erskine. He's Greg Burke85. Let us know if there's a movie that's on Amazon Prime or not that you would like to see us do a watch along for, and we will add it to our list. But we're gonna
Batman
do this
89
last Friday of every month.
Batman
Yeah,
89 is not on Amazon Prime.
it's not, but we can do it anyway. We'll just have to go through other means.
My wife in bed last night was like, I still can't believe Donovan hasn't seen Batman, like out of nowhere. She's like, I still can't believe Donovan hasn't seen Batman 89. I was just like, she's like, it's Batman. Like, how did he not watch something that's Batman? Just like...
What's gonna happen when I see this movie, Greg? Like, what's gonna be the new thing? Like after I watch it, it's
Ghostbusters.
Gonna, like,
Move to Ghostbusters after that, because she's equally appalled that you've passed by that too.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Oh yeah, then he bounced the idea of doing a poll. That'd be pretty fun. Yeah, maybe I'll do like a double feature. I'll just do Batman 89 and Ghostbusters, and then tell everybody to screw it. But yes,
it was okay. It's no Knives Out.
Yeah.
I'll be like, why? Why? Sorry.
Yep. No, I look forward to watching both. I don't think that me not seeing them is me doubting that they're good. I'm sure that they're both amazing films. I just never got around to watching them.
Well, I'm interested to see if they hold up from your perspective and what your takeaways from it is what I'm really interested in seeing. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I like watching older movies. It's rough nowadays because like I watch a lot of movies with friends over Discord, and half my friend group is like they just won't watch anything that came out like before 2000. They just can't do it. And I'm like, you guys are the worst.
They just can't do it. You're fucking Gen
Yeah, no, because they're just not big movie people. And when it's like anything that's old or like cheesy or the effects aren't good, they just can't. And I'm like, I don't know.
I'll give you that for like 90s and like early 2000s movies that used grotesque amounts of CGI. They look bad, but like, hate to tell you that Spider-Man No Way Home will look bad 50 years from now too. So like, it's just how it is. It's just how technology works, especially in visual effects, like CGI effects.
Yeah, for sure. But no, I mean, I love going back and watching old stuff, even if it doesn't look great. Like, I'll go look at like an old '70s slasher where like the knife isn't even like hitting the person and stuff. I don't know. I dig seeing how filmmaking has evolved over time. Greg, speaking of filmmaking,
oh my God, sorry, deep cuts in the chat. Beetlejuice, The Goonies. You never seen Beetlejuice either, right?
I know like Beetlejuice. You say his name.
But you never seen it.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen Beetlejuice.
Oh man,
Something's
it's such a weird movie. It's such a weird movie. It's so good.
Aren't they doing another one?
Aren't
they bringing?
Well, there's a running. Why do you have to be asking me these questions that I know? So like, there's just been this running gag. I know too much about this. There's been this running gag forever that after Tim Burton did Beetlejuice, and he got a ton of pushback from the studio because they're like, "What movie are you making? This is really weird. It's not going to appeal to anybody. It's too out there. Like it doesn't make sense. You have the movie called Beetlejuice, and Michael Keaton's only in it for 20 minutes. Like this doesn't make any sense." He got a ton of footback. So then after it made like a shit ton of money and did really well, they're like, "Okay, we're gonna make a sequel." And the original title for the sequel was called Beetlejuice Goes to Hawaii. And supposedly, a couple years ago, like they announced that it's going to come back. So I don't know. It's one of those weird things that's caught in sequel hell, like Ghostbusters 3 was for like 20 years. Like it's just one of those weird things.
Okay.
So
I feel like it's only a matter of time with how many like old properties are going back and trying again or trying to give new life. I feel like somebody will try it. Might be awful, but I think somebody will give it somebody's shot. Like
especially with Michael Keaton.
Services.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Michael Keaton as well.
But he's in his. We've talked about this on the show before too. They're finally actors reach that fuck it point where they're like, whatever. Like, and they kind of embrace like the stereotypical roles that they were cast or that one off role that everyone loves them for. And it's Michael Keaton's turn now because he's putting on the Batman suit again. He's fucking returning his Beetlejuice, or supposedly returning. Like he's getting up there, which is it's fun. It's fun to see that, but yeah. So watch the entire Ernest filmography.
Oh boy,
those movies are weird. You ever seen any of the Ernest movies, Donovan?
I think I saw one of them. Let me look. I think actually wait. I don't know. Did these ever play on TV? Because some of their artworks look familiar.
A lot of them did. I mean, dude, all of them were in syndication for a long time.
I
But
probably caught some of them on TV.
they're fun. Some are like more kid friendly than others. Like the Halloween one, I think he does. Ernest Scared Stupid. It's more of a kids movie, but like Jim Varley was a really talented actor. Like he had different personalities in the show. He'd have Omega. He had a lot of fun in the role, as I guess I could say, a lot of fun, which is it's good to see.
Mhm.
But
Greg, speaking of a lot of fun, I'm gonna have a lot of fun.
I sounds like it. Sounds like you're psyched.
I'm gonna have a lot of fun the day that the Percy Jackson show gets released on Disney Plus.
Oh my
'Cause
god! Here we go.
they announced that it's officially gotten a season one order. Disney's officially ordered a season one at Disney Plus. They had been working on the show already, but it hadn't been given an official green light. But they've got the go ahead. They're gonna make a season one, Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney Plus. It's gonna be a live action show. God, I can't wait. This is great. This is gonna be my Super Bowl. Although I also like the Super Bowl, but this is gonna be like my second Super Bowl when this show comes out.
This is something we can agree on. Like, I mean, I think it's rare, especially. I mean, I didn't do a lot of reading growing up, but I definitely read after I saw the Percy Jackson movies. I decided to give the books a try, and the books were so good. They are. It was a little awkward because they are meant for a younger reader, like a younger age group. So like they have to explain everything slowly, and they have to explain it 4 times. So if it's complicated, but like if you can get past that, it's still like it does everything that I love about like a world, about world building. It shows characters, how the world works, how to interact with each other, how they come together. And some of the stuff that I like in the movies, I was kind of glad they did differently than in the books. Kind of like with his satyr bodyguard. Like in the books, he was almost like annoying, like Jar Jar Binks level annoying. Like, you know, with his like always bind, and he was always bind, and he had like a weird like accent, or at least Jim, the guy narrating the books, like did him with like a weird accent, and I was just like, oh, that's annoying. But like he was a lot cooler and like down to earth in the movies. You know what I mean? So like some little stuff, I'm sure people were angry about that, but yeah, the books are great. The world's great. The characters are great. I love the themes of Greek mythology and all that good stuff. Really sad we only got 2 movies, and isn't it 4 books?
Yeah, it's 5.
5 books. Yeah, we only got 2 movies. I don't think the second one did financially very well, so they just cut it. But it was I love seeing it. It's great, fantastic.
Yeah, I love Percy Jackson. Those book series, they rival for me like maybe not Percy Jackson, but Heroes of Olympus, which was like the sequel series. It like rivals Harry Potter for me. Is like some of my favorite like books I read as a kid growing up. Yeah, so the original books, it was like Lightning Thief, which is the movie they did, Sea of Monsters, which they also did not do well. But then you've got Titan's Curse, you've got Battle of the Labyrinth, then you've got The Last Olympian, all great books, and it's a series that like it gets better as it goes on, and it also like matures with its audience, which I think is great. And it's something else like Harry Potter was always celebrated for, that it kind of matures with its characters and its audiences. Like the first couple are very like, well, it's got those dark themes. There's like a charm and a sense of like happy-go-luckiness to them. But by the time you get to like 5, 6, 7, it's like there's a lot of darkness, bleakness. There's like death and some heavier themes. And Percy Jackson essentially does the same thing. Like once you get to like Titan's Curse, like there's some like dark shit that happens in that book. Not to like spoil anything, but in especially 4 and 5, and then like the stuff that happens after the main story, that series like goes places, and not in like a bad way at all. And I was lucky enough that I read it at a time that I also kind of grew up. Like I read like Lightning Thief in like middle school, and I read Heroes of Olympus, which is the sequel series, in high school. And I've got friends like, but it was hugely popular in my generation. We actually had to read the first one in school. They made us read it in 7th grade, which like turned a bunch of people onto it. But like for years, I've talked to my friends where I'm like, some studio somewhere is like just sitting on like a gold mine. Like some studio is sitting on the next like 10 movie franchise, $100 million series, whenever they decide that they want to like do Percy Jackson correctly. And like someday somebody will do it. And now that Disney Plus has a show coming out, that is incredibly exciting. And I think that the format of TV might work even better than movies did for Percy Jackson. So I'm excited.
What's interesting about that is that if you remember like when the Harry Potter movie was coming out, because the books were all already huge, but what you may not remember is about a year or so after that movie came out, studios were desperately trying to find their version of Harry Potter, right? So they did like Aragon, that were a dragon book that didn't do well. They did some other fantasy book options that were really just forgettable. Like they were trying to capitalize on that, and Percy Jackson the movies I think worked better because they waited 9 years after the first Harry Potter to actually make it. You know what I mean? And like we've
Yeah,
always talked about the show, like how novels, especially book series, would do so much better in television because they have so much room to explore, and it's not just a 2 hour runtime. You have, 10-hour-long episodes. You know what I mean? That you can really get into the world and really get everything in the books into the show itself. When Harry Potter, we're rewatching the movies now, and they just get so much stuff wrong, and they change so much, and sometimes it's so bad. You're just like, why would you ever change that? Why would you get rid of that?
yeah. There's the TV format. I think is really going to help them out because if you do like if season one is just the Lightning Thief, like that's perfect. There's so much
Right.
because like even the first movie, I thought the first Percy Jackson movie was decent, but it completely changes like the villain, like Ares. The whole like Ares fight on the beach is like an iconic scene in the books. That's like a coming of age moment for Percy where he fights Ares one on one like on a beach with a sword. And
Yeah, and
that's not even
doesn't
like, in the movie.
yeah,
They
it's not in
skip
the
past
movie.
that entire thing.
And doesn't
Yeah.
Aphrodite break up the fight? Like you never see Aphrodite in the films anyway, right? She's not in the
Yeah, I think
movies.
so.
She's not in the movie. She's in the books a lot though, because he talks to her a
Mhm.
lot. Uh,
Yeah,
and they talk
there's a
about like
great
yeah,
balance.
and they talk about like
And
Hephaestus and like her husband and like how Ares is in love with Aphrodite, and it's funny. It's because like
yeah,
these gods have just as many problems as we do, and I think that was one of the really cool themes about seeing
mhm,
that, reading that in the book was that like even these gods with this infinite amount of power have just as much problems as we do in real life.
yeah. And not only the gods, but their kids, because like everybody at the camp is a demigod. So like they have a human parent and a godly parent, and that's the other like funny slash relatable thing about it is like all of the kids have parent problems. Everybody either has a mommy issue or a daddy issue because
Right.
they have an immortal parent that they see like once in a blue moon that like really doesn't give a shit about them, and it's something they all kind of connect over or connect with, and it's something that they'll probably be able to explore better in a TV show because you've got like I mean, obviously the big three are like Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades, and like they have kids. But there's kids of Apollo, like Dionysus has kids, Ares has kids, like Clarissa is like a daughter of Ares, and she's like really aggressive, and she's in the book. She barely shows up in the
Oh yeah,
movie at
Clarissa's not
all.
even in the books at all. She's not even in the movie at all. Like she's in the
Yeah, I
movie
don't think she's in the movie.
one
Yeah, but
second, I
she's
think.
great.
Yeah.
She's like a great antagonistic force in the books. And then there's like Artemis has kids. And it's I think you'll be able to dive into a lot more of those dynamics. And it's something that a lot of people can relate to, having parent issues or despising your parent for one reason or another. And it's a fun twist on it with them being Greek gods. So I
They
am very excited to see what they do with it.
they put Cassie in the second film. She's in the opening of the second film. You see her in the
Okay.
first task. Like I think that's all you see her. And they make like some kind of comment
Yeah.
about her being the daughter of God of War, like you don't need to take everything so seriously, that kind of thing. But it's funny because you're right. It's also all these kids trying to live up to their parents' expectations. Like, and
Hmm.
that's most of the themes in the books is like one of the demigods doing something very bad because they're trying to impress their father or get back at their dad. Like you said,
Yep.
it becomes just a
Yeah.
bunch of parenting
Or
issues.
or the gods fucking up and now their kids have to like fix it and
Right.
save their asses. It's very good.
We
I'm looking forward for like the casting stuff because they haven't like cast any of it yet, but
You can
looking
be sure
forward
we'll
to it.
talk about that on the show. We should also watch. I mean, if we can't stream it, maybe we could watch it and just talk about it, and people can watch along with us at home, not live stream, to just watch our reactions. We should definitely watch the episodes when they release one at a time.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be really fun. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be all over it. I can't wait. I mean, I'm looking like on my bookshelf. I've got the entire series sitting back there, which maybe I should reread those someday. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I guess my one big question for it is going to be like CG and effects and budget because I mean it's Disney Plus. So in today's age, they dump like millions and millions into streaming services. But I'm curious because like Percy Jackson by nature is going to be heavy on effects and shit. I mean, you've got people throwing water and whatnot around to go into other realms and realities. So
Oh,
it's definitely not
the
going to be a low
casino,
budget.
Cersei's casino, like that thing is like they did it in the
Yeah,
movie, but Jesus, that's like a huge set. You know what I mean? Like you have to build that.
yeah.
It's
they
crazy.
they they go like they do all sorts of crazy shit in those books. So I'm curious, just from like a budgeting and effects standpoint, how they either get around it or if they just open the wallet up and just throw heaps of money at it. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, like CGI effects have gotten cheaper, like these over the last decade. They have. I mean, of course, there's still bad CGI, but the overall process has got more affordable. You know what I mean? Like it's like if I had access to 3D Max and knew how to animate, and like I could probably do some 3D effect because it's at that level now of technology where everyone has access to it, and yeah, good CGI looks good. Fun facts about CGI, that movie Deadpool, right? They hired a video game trailer studio to do all the effects for that film because they did it for a fraction of the cost. and it looks that the visual effects in Deadpool look great. You know what I mean? Like absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it does. Deadpool does a very good job with that.
Oh, Artemis Fowl. Oh, ooh,
Yeah, that's rough.
ooh,
I like that it's the same because the
that's
first
rough.
Artemis Fowl book I didn't think was very bad. I like the. I know it's like a whole series. I only read the first book. Maybe I think I might have read the second one too. But I thought the books were decent. But
It's
yeah, that movie
kind of
is
like the
that is.
Spider-Man Chronicles too. Like they've tried this before, and it doesn't work with everything, right? It doesn't work. Like for some reason, Harry Potter resonates with a lot of people, and
Mhm.
but like the
Yeah,
Spider,
everybody wanted their YA
yeah, the Spider-Man Chronicles did not,
series.
right? The Percy Jackson movies did not, which is unfortunate. And
Yeah,
chuck that down to either writing or characters or whatever the themes maybe. I don't know. Everyone has different taste. Ordering pizza for 400 people, it's going to be a lot harder than getting 400 people fed is a lot harder than getting 4 people fed that, get everything they want. So it can be difficult. But yeah, I mean, I love the
yeah.
movies. I can't wait for the show. I'm right there with you, man. I've read all the books, loved the books. Movies are
Mhm.
okay. Like I said, they leave a lot of stuff out, change a lot of weird shit, and there's some things I would have loved to see, like the battle on the New York Bay Bridge. Still want to see that. I want to
Yeah,
see him talk with
exactly.
Prometheus. Like, you know what I mean? I want to see all that stuff, like that
Hmm.
we never got
Stuff
to
with
see.
like the Oracle was such a like big like Oracle that had like the prophecy and whatnot in the original. There was so many elements that just like don't exist in the movies, which would be good if they dig into all of that stuff.
Stanley Tucci
Um,
is great in this film, though. He's great in both the films. He plays Bacchus
that's
so well.
that's probably like the biggest like shame of the Percy Jackson movies is they're actually really well cast.
Yeah, they
Logan
are.
Lerman is like a great Percy. Alexandra Daddario was a great Annabeth. Like
Hmm.
when I even if I like go back and read the books and I'm like reading Annabeth, I think of her, even though Annabeth is blonde and has gray eyes. In the book, she's so good. Even Brandon T.
Yeah, yeah.
Jackson, even Brandon T. Jackson is like Grover. Like they're all so good as those characters. So it's a shame that like they didn't really get a fair shot at it because obviously they're far too old to play those characters now. They're probably pushing it back
They
then.
were pushing it back then because
So
they're supposed to be what,
yeah,
like 13, and they all look like they're
yeah,
19. Like that's the big like.
yeah.
My wife works at a high school. Like I know what children look like, and in these movies where they're not
Mhm.
children. These are adults. Like these are young. These are young adults. They're over 18. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. Yeah.
Yep. Percy and his friends are like 13 or 4. They might be 14 at the. Not even that, because he's like 17 at the end of the series. So he's gonna be like 12 or 13, which none of these actors were convincing anybody that they were. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm sure they'll go younger with the cast because they're gonna want people that they can have for 10 years
I hope
doing
so.
shows and
I
movies.
mean, even
But
Harry
yeah, me too.
Potter. God bless the movies. If you like the movies, even Harry Potter, like the first movie's good, but after that, he's way too old. He looks way too old. He's supposed to be like 14 in the 14 in the Goblet of Fire, but he's like 22. So like, it looks really, but they grow his hair out to try to make him look young and do all this other stuff. But like it's just
They
it
were
takes
growing up so fast.
yeah, it takes so long to make a movie. So like when you see the first
Yeah.
movie and then like when the other movie comes out like a few years later, like everyone looks not a year older but 4 years older. Like it's just especially with kids, it's so hard to keep them up. That's why like I'm worried about, not to segue, but Stranger Things. Like these kids aren't cute kids
Oh,
anymore. They're
those kids are
adults.
adults now.
So like
Yeah, yeah.
is this formula still going to work?
No,
That's
those dudes have like facial hair and whatnot at this point. They're not kids.
yeah,
They're not.
I
Yeah, that's they're adults now. I think the oldest one was like 20, I believe,
yeah,
20 or 21. Yeah,
it's weird. It's especially with child actors. I mean, time does not
mhm,
stop for you, so you have to make sure you get it done quickly. Every year, it's got to be done
mhm.
if you want to keep that continuity.
Yep, exactly. But yes, we will surely talk about that this show many more times in the future once we get more news and when it comes out. Uh, Greg, have you heard of the comic book series Saga? Because apparently it's back.
I wasn't
Um,
aware that it had left. Um, sorry, I didn't know it
yeah,
left.
I mean, it had been off for a while. It was by Brian K. Vaughan, who, I mean, Brian K. Vaughan is a very prolific writer at this point. It had first been published in 2012, and it just came back this week. But apparently, it's very good. It's won Eisner Awards, all sorts of stuff. And apparently, the return or the new issues that they've got out are very good, which is good to hear because it's not frequent that comic book stuff outside of like the Marvel DC sphere gets a whole lot of love. Here I think we've got Blake here. Hold on, might have to call him and set him in here. Because Blake did is a fan of Saga and has read it and can probably talk about it much better than we can. Um, but yes, it is a new series that is out, or a return of a series.
It wasn't where it had left, but I mean, that it is hard to get past that DC Marvel bet because there have been a lot of graphic novels that are really good. I mean, one that I can think of that's
Mhm.
not has nothing to do with Marvel or DC is like Sandman. People talk about that book like crazy, like it's crack. So I've never read that Sandman novels, the graphic novels, but I've heard it's really, really good. Didn't RoboCop start out as a graphic novel? Like RoboCop was a comic, wasn't it? Blake would know.
Um,
Blake would know.
yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, I like boofed us over
Son of
or
a
put us
bitch.
into a.
I have no screen to go to. We have no thing. I go to this screen. What are you
My
trying to?
God, you
Are
really
you
did.
wearing a Spaceball shirt on
What's-
purpose?
He did.
Yes, I am
Spaceballs the
wearing
T-shirt.
Spaceballs the T-shirt on purpose because I'm
The
very
t-shirt.
excited about movie night tomorrow night, Donovan. And I hope our subs are too. And if you're not a sub to the Shacknews Twitch, you're gonna fucking miss out, sucker. So, yeah.
But Blake, tell us.
What is
Saga.
what is Saga about? Give us your elevator pitch for Saga. What is this graphic novel all about?
Saga is a epic love story, really, more than anything.
Mhm.
It tells the story of these two people fighting on different sides of a war, Romeo and Juliet style thing, right? But like it's like a space war, right? So like this interplanetary thing has been funded by like a monarchy of like television faced robots that are super freaking awesome. Brian, here's the thing. Brian K. Vaughan is one of the greatest writers of our time. Like, he's done so much stuff that you're probably not aware of. Why the Last Man is the reason that I read comic books. Like, still, like why, like the work of Brian K. Vaughan is so damn good, and he's teamed up with a brilliant artist here. And what they've done is basically like made one of the most epic sci-fi tales ever. The journey that this family goes on, like as they like, it's told from a narrative perspective of the daughter that they have, but you don't know how old she is when she's writing about this, right? Like you don't know where in the future it takes place, and
Kind of like
it
the Wonder
ended-
Years.
Yeah, and it ended like Saga was like stopped. They stopped in the middle of it, right? Basically, a couple of years ago, they're like, we need to take a break to finish this up, and it ended on this huge emotional climax where one of the main characters gets a hole put through their stomach.
Jesus.
Yeah, and if like it's I don't know. A lot of people I know like cried over this comic book. You know, it's impactful, and they've done a lot of stuff that's really emotional. Like while like going through all of this like massive space adventure with all of these like interesting characters and creatures. Um, they've like done tales about like drug addiction. They've done stories about like miscarriages and like loss and like how people cope with that stuff. And Brian K. Vaughan is also a son of a bitch. So throughout the story, if you read this, just know that any of your favorite characters could die at any moment, and they probably will.
So it sounds like a lot of like the
That's-
Walking Dead comic, like where like no one was safe, right? In that comic, the same thing for Saga. No one
Yeah.
is safe.
Yeah, I think Brian K. Vaughan is definitely a writer who kills off your favorite characters, though. I think he's a better writer than Kirkman in a lot of ways. I think like as good as like parts of The Walking Dead were, a lot of it was just shock value. Like there's like vulgarity and violence and gore in Saga, but I felt like a lot of what Kirkman did was just for shock value, like decapitating children and shit like that. Like it was just there to disturb rather than be well written. And I think there's a big difference here. But it's been longer than we expected because of COVID. for Saga to come back, and I am pumped. I haven't read the new issue, but I'm curious to see if there's going to be like a time jump, because it wouldn't be the first time they've done that, and I think it would probably progress the story further.
Is there an official word on why
interesting way.
they stopped? You said they stopped mid run. Was there
they needed
financial reason?
They needed a break. No, it's just a creative break.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just needed a moment to kind of catch their breath and stuff like that. And like, I think it was a good place to stop, and it definitely, but it just hit. It you know, I've been reading this comic for years already, and it's one of the few things that like I read issue to issue. You know, most of the times I'll just pick up trade paperbacks and like read a full story in a few sittings. But Saga is like the thing that like kept me going back every Wednesday. And I was kicking myself in the head yesterday because like I was like, man, I needed to go to the comic book shop and get that, and I did not. But yeah, I'm planning on picking it up. I'm very excited. I think they'll probably finish it this run. They've said it's only going to be like X amount of issues. Like Brian K. Vaughan usually does like around like 60, 70 issues for his stuff. So we're at that midway point now. And yeah, I'm like, based off the cover, I'm making some assumptions, and we'll see how it goes.
See, the only other time I've heard of something like this, like on a major scale, had been that I didn't remember. Blake will remember this. Remember the Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk comic? Remember it was supposed to be like
man, that took forever.
It was like a 6-issue run, and like a number 3 ended. Spoilers, with like Hulk ripping Wolverine in half, and then there was nothing for like 4 years. Like they didn't know what to do after that, and they finally came back, and it was terrible, but still, like.
Well, there was an issue with the writer. I think the writer had some sort of issue on that and just wasn't turning his shit in. But yeah, that was so long ago. But that was great when it finally came through.
So this is a space opera, though. This is a completely unique story with unique characters. Who publishes it? Is it Image?
Yeah, it's put out by Image. But if you haven't read Y the Last Man, I heard the show is horrible. I didn't even bother watching the show, but read Y the Last Man. It's one of the greatest comic books ever written. He's Brian K. Vaughan's the dude that came up with the Runaways, which is a really good Marvel series. Another series where he breaks your goddamn heart, though. Did you read the Runaways, Donovan?
I've only read a little bit of Runaways.
I read the Runaways. I mean, the show was a lot different than what I'd read in the comic, which I guess is understandable because they can't use a lot of the same characters. But yeah, the comic was good. I like how their minor spoilers, how their parents were part of the chess club, right? The Black Rook Society or something like that, or one of them was. I remember that was like a tie-in, and that was really cool.
Yeah, something like that, I think.
Anyway, so this is an original comic by, and how many issues? You said 60-issue run?
This?
Yeah, specifically.
It'll be like around 6. I believe it's going to be in the 60s or something. Let me see. I can find out right now. So
that's a lot of books. That's a lot of books for like an original comic. Usually, like, do they usually do the comics like once a month thing, Blake, or once a week, and then do the graphic novel when it's all done, or do they just do a graphic novel all at once? Like, when do they? You're more of the comic book expert in that regard.
So it looks like it's gonna be like 108 issues because
wow,
this is just So, and I mean that's really not uncommon. I mean, look at how long Spawn's been going and stuff like that. I think what you're used to seeing like a lot of like Marvel and DC places put out like, you know, like they'll put out a new #1 of Spider-Man or some shit.
Right.
Like
they do a soft reboot. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But this sounds like Saga sounds like it's all one continuous story. Where like in a Batman universe, like a character might die, but then they may, like you said, do the #1, or like in issue 500 he comes back and it's you know, he doesn't remember anything that happened in previous issues, like that kind of stuff that comic books tend to do.
It's all retconning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like comic books have to constantly retcon themselves so that new writers can come in and tell stories. But this is like one writer and one artist telling a story together, right?
Mm-hmm. Any talks to do like a live action show, animated adaptation? I know Invincible has received really well, but that was in like production hell for years. Like I was talking to Robert Kirkman about that before people knew what it was, and he says it's stuck in entertainment hell. His exact words: stuck in entertainment hell.
Well, I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, Why the Last Man was the same way, right? And it didn't do well. So I mean, it's always a crapshoot with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think you give it the right people, and they do the right kind of thing with it. The only people I think could do this justice would be like HBO Max. Like honestly,
you feeling live action, animated?
Oh,
what would you like to see? What would you like to see? I'll put it that way. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, if it's a live action series, that would be pretty damn incredible because of how it looks. It would have to rely heavily on CGI. I think but I look at Raised by Wolves, which also, by the way, season 2 just came out of that, and if you haven't watched that, that's great sci-fi as well. But something along those lines, I think would be cool. I don't know how practical it would be. Animated would probably be cheaper, honestly, in this case. But I don't really see... It's so well illustrated now that I don't even know why you would want it. Fiona Staples is the name of the artist working on it. And yeah, I am just... I don't know. I really wish I had gone to the comic book shop yesterday, and I'm kind of... I don't know. I may have to go tonight, depending on what time they close.
Yeah, that's what I might have to check out myself. But
Chef's Kiss, though, man, for real. Like, if you haven't read Saga, owe it to yourselves. You're gonna see some like robot dong. Just gonna tell you now. You're gonna see you're gonna see a lot of stuff. Really, I think that robot dong is like the bottom tier there.
It's also hard, like you said, it's 100 and something episodes. If you want to get into it now, you have to find the back issues, right? Because there's no graphic novelization, or is there?
What? Oh, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Of course there's graphic novelization. Okay. Yeah, man, you can get paperbacks, you can get like omnibus editions that are like nice, big, like hardcover copies. I have some of the figures. I have some of the action figures. I have a Gus plush, which is like this little adorable, it's like a sea lion, like an anthropomorphic sea lion character who's just like a little fisherman dude, and he is adorable, which means he's probably gonna fucking die. He's not dead in the comic yet, but yeah, there's just all sorts of cool character designs and creatures.
There's like a giant cat in it too, from what I'm looking at.
Oh, the lion cat. Oh my goodness, Lion Cat is one of the greatest things ever invented. It's just a cat that knows when you're lying, right? And he's like the cat is the sidekick of this bounty hunter named the Will. And I guess if the movie was being made, the Will would probably be played by like Vin Diesel or The Rock or Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis would actually be perfect to play the Will. And he's got like this telescoping lance, right, that he uses to kill people. So it's like a knight's lance, but it like shoots outwards. And yeah, he's got a cat that will tell you if he's lying. It's like a giant hairless cat that's blue, and it's such a great character. So if you like Lion Cat, guess what's gonna happen to Lion Cat? There you go. Just assume everything is going to die and break your fucking heart. That's all I'm saying about Brian K. Vaughan, but it's worth it. His stories are phenomenal, and they're so amazing, and I think that's part of it. Definitely.
So people can just start at Volume 1 is a good place to start for this. Is it called something like Saga Volume 1? Is that what is? They're all titled a little bit differently, I know, when they do graphic novelizations.
Well, I don't know, Greg. I think if you go on Amazon, you can figure it out.
Okay.
But yeah, usually.
You see if it's called.
Yeah,
something.
Usually it's here. Look, I'm going on Amazon for you.
Saga
right
Volume
now,
1. Here we go.
Saga Volume 1.
That's
where it is. Edition is free. Yeah, and then they've got what's this, book 4?
Yeah, Kindle edition is completely free. He's right.
Set. Yeah, it's a great place to start, and like I said, it's just. I don't know, the story, it just goes so many cool places, so many cool concepts.
It's funny how
artwork.
Yeah, it's funny how art can be like that, especially like in comic book worlds. Like there could be like a really great story that no one's ever heard of, and then all of a sudden it's a animated show like Invincible, and everyone's like, "Oh, I have to go read this." It's weird how that works out sometimes.
Yeah, it is weird how it works sometimes. But I think it's great. I love it, man. Like, I never read Invincible before. I haven't even read it. I picked up the first like trade back or two, and I haven't read it yet. But yeah, there you go. I just wanted. Thanks for letting me yell about Saga.
Saga.
Yeah.
It's one of the best comic books out there right now. By the way, you know that like Taco Bell commercial where the two dudes are like cosplaying?
Mm-hmm.
That is actually a character from Saga. That's Marco.
Okay.
That's like the dad in the story. They're both and honestly, I don't know, if you read Saga and you get to where it ended, like the Taco Bell, like there could be a very, very, very hilarious how it started and how it's going meme made out of it, but I haven't done it because I don't want to spoil stuff for people.
Dude, Brian K. Vaughan wrote Age of Apocalypse. That's awesome. I loved that line. He also wrote, it looks like he wrote a lot of the Ultimate X-Men story arcs. That's great. I loved those two lines.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
No, he was big on that. They were gonna base like before X-Men 3 became the like shitstorm, it became like a lot of what they were gonna do with it was based off of Brian K. Vaughan's like Ultimate Dark Phoenix run. Obviously it didn't come through, but
I loved that run because that was when they played on whether or not you weren't sure if it was real, if it was all in her head, like if it was just her being powerful, if it was, I think it ended up being like her persona that she created to cope with all her power or something like that. I remember it was a really interesting take on the Dark Phoenix for something that's been told countless times in film and media and comics. It was one of my favorite runs of Phoenix, and I usually don't like that story arc. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Really creative.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. About Ex Machina is another thing, and I think that's actually been picked up. They're gonna make a series out of that, and it's about a guy who gets the power to talk with machines, and then he becomes like a superhero, kinda, and he ends up stopping 9/11 and becoming mayor of New York City. So it's like this weird like superhero / political story, and they obviously touched on a lot of like hot button issues from that era. Really interesting read, and yeah, definitely another thing. His Paper Girls has also had a ton of critical acclaim. I haven't read it yet, but it's essentially about time traveling newspaper delivery girls.
You had me at time traveling newspaper delivery.
Yeah, he wrote a bunch of episodes of Lost as well. People don't really know that. Apparently, he's also working on. Oh my God, he's working on the Mobile Suit Gundam film and Silver Surfer right now. Holy shit! I didn't know he was gonna make a Gundam film. That is gonna be the saddest Gundam film ever. As everybody slowly dies.
Everybody slowly dies.
Yeah. But yeah, Brian K. Vaughan, solid dude, solid writer. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Go check him out.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in and chatting about Saga. Much appreciated, Blake. I'll have to check that out. But again, thank you for giving your expertise on that.
Thank you for giving me a platform to bring compliment. Let's do this. All right. Should I just go now? What
should I just? I can't. I don't have a flushing thing. I have a DJ horn.
Oh,
I don't have a flushing sound. Where's my DJ horn?
Well, what are you talking about?
I was gonna before we did Generational Gap, I was gonna talk about the last episode of Peacemaker and then the movie I watched over this past week.
The last episode, not just how great the series is overall.
I mean the show as a whole, but I was also gonna talk about that one as well.
Well, I'm gonna fucking leave because I haven't watched it yet, and you guys love to.
You really should.
Things like a bunch of jerks. So
you really should check it out. I'm not gonna spoil it here, but you should definitely check out that.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. Don't worry.
Bruce Wayne is Batman. Clark Kent is Superman.
Oh no, Greg's already spoiling stuff.
Let that sink in. Fun fact, before we get to the Peacemaker, Donovan, do you know what is the power called when people can communicate with machines?
Oh, it's probably I know like the model of the word. I don't know what it is, but what is it? What is it? Tell me.
Technopath. One of the
Okay.
coolest
I knew it was
underrated powers in like any superhero lore. It's a fucking awesome power to
Technopath.
have. Especially in today's
it.
society, you could hack anything, do anything, get money into your account that doesn't exist. You could do so much cool shit with that power. Like, I don't need super strength or speed. Just give me Technopath.
That's what when people are at parties and like, what superpower would you have? Greg's like, I'd be a technopath.
Fuck yeah.
And everybody's like, what is
They're
that?
like, what? And I'm like, hold on a second. Imagine a world where all your DoorDash shit is free, and you're paying
Greg's
him
like-
because you're hacking the system and paying him with DoorDash's own money.
Greg's like, I'm talking to Siri.
Yeah, right. Fucking Siri. All right, so now we're
But,
getting into the part of the show where Donovan and I review things. And Donovan saw one
Yeah.
episode of one show, and then you've been watching Peacemaker consistently. Like, have you seen it?
Yeah, so a new episode just came out today. I mentioned it a couple times in the show with Peacemaker, Suicide Squad spinoff. It's on HBO Max. The show stars John Cena. That's his character, Peacemaker. It's written and directed by James Gunn. And essentially, it's just, I'm not going to spoil the Suicide Squad, but it just follows directly the events of that movie. And it's John Cena's character working with / for like Black Ops government forces and carrying out their dirty work and whatnot.
Now, does he work with Amanda Waller specifically, or just government?
He works with people that work for her,
Okay.
but she does like appear like somebody's like going to call with her or whatnot. But like she's a present force. But yeah, and the newest episode came out today. It was episode 5 today. I don't remember how many they're doing in this season. I forget. But it is damn good. Like when they first announced they were doing this show, I was like, eh. Like I thought Peacemaker was okay in Suicide Squad, but I wasn't like convinced it'd be a good show. But James Gunn, that dude can write and direct the hell out of a
Team
TV show, movie, whatever he wants to do.
Teams, right? He's good. He works good in teams.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a team in this. Although Peacemaker is like the hero or like the superhero character. There's like this team you see him with. They're like a lot of these characters are actually in Suicide Squad. Some of them are new. They're all really good, and I need to pull up the actress's name because she has some very good moments in today's episode. Danielle Brooks, yeah, she's a new character for the show. She wasn't in the movie. Her character is great, and she has some moments in this episode that are like damn good. That I'm glad that they added her to the show because I wasn't expecting her character, but she's very good. She adds like another like weight to everything that's going on. She also kind of serves as like a good like moral compass because obviously like these people like they're doing like Black Ops missions, they do some like dark shit, and she's kind of like the level-headed one that's like, man, like this is really fucked up, or like I can't do this, blah blah blah. And she's great. Her character is great, and the show keeps getting better and better. I would highly recommend it if anyone's been like curious about seeing it or not sure. Again, in like the Suicide Squad, James Gunn did a good like deep dive and brought in some like random characters that people don't talk about from the DC universe. This show gets even more. They've got like a Vigilante is in this, as well as another character that's in this trailer that I don't remember the name of. But it is going quite well. I would highly recommend this show. But it's Peacemaker. It's on HBO Max.
Why is the eagle giving him a hug? That is really weird.
That's Eagly, which is his
Eagly. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm down.
It's like his sidekick eagle. It's like his pet eagle. It's just around. But it's funny. And there's also like, since this is set in the DC universe, there's like fun commentary on that stuff. Like he rips on like Batman and Superman and things like that. It's very good. There's a whole like monologue he goes on. I think not episode 5, might be 4, about like Batman and how like he doesn't kill people, and that's why like the Joker always gets out and kills more people because Batman refuses to grow a pair and kill him, and stuff like that. It's very good.
It looks interesting. I like stuff that's different. I really do, and I think this is different because like superhero movies can go two ways, right? They're either in like their character pieces, character studies, or they're like high octane spectacles, right? And the latter is usually what it is, like with like, you know, the MCU and all that stuff. Like they more focus on like the action or the big fight scenes and the hero reveals, right? Like where this sounds like it's a bunch of people trying to get to know each other, work together as a team, which can be a little bit more interesting to me.
It has a good balance, right? Like I think that like the story itself is very compelling. Like just I'm very interested in seeing the season through just because of like what's going on and like the reveals that they keep dropping. And I'm like, holy shit, like what's gonna happen next? Then again, yeah, all the characters are great. John Cena, I give him a lot of shit as an actor. I don't think he's a very talented actor, but he's very good as his character. And I think James Gunn is very good at directing people and writing for people that aren't like thespians or the greatest actors. Like look at what he does with Dave Bautista in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Like he's great as Drax, but like Dave Bautista isn't like the next Leonardo DiCaprio, but he gives him material and focuses on stuff he's really good at. And I think that's what happens with John Cena. He gets a lot of stuff that he's very good at in this show. Great humor, great action. It's very adult, which you should expect if you saw the Suicide Squad. But quite a good series, and apparently they're doing another one now. He's worked. Apparently, he pitched on this show to HBO Max for another Suicide Squad character. So we'll see.
I mean, I do.
But
I mean,
I think,
I do have HBO Max. Maybe I should sit
I
down
think
and
you would
watch
like
it.
it. Yeah, I think watch like the first episode or two if you have time, and see how you feel about it. But it is quite good.
Yeah,
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it though.
I fell off of Titans because it kept like the third season just goes on a little too long, and I still haven't watched it, and it keeps on going on too long, and you're like, this is and I've come to the realization that I don't like any of the characters other than the Batman characters because all the other characters are boring except for the Batman characters. Like, you know what I mean? Like these people fight crime because they're super skilled and smart and they have training. The other people just have superpowers they use all the time, and it's lame because that's the scapegoat, right? Oh, Connor can do that. He's super fast. Okay. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, I just want a show about Batman characters. That would be great.
The Bat Family.
Well, I mean, like,
to HBO Max.
The psychological I'm not going to I don't want to talk too much about the show, but just like the psychological trauma that Dick Grayson had to go through is a really interesting subplot that should be the main plot. Like, that's more interesting than me giving a shit about Coriander running away from her responsibilities. I'm so over it. Like, I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. So that's just me. But yeah, it sounds like it's a cool show. Does a lot of interesting. Any like other notable superheroes that are in it that someone might recognize from reading comics or other stuff?
There's some deep cuts. I'm not well versed in a lot of the characters that have popped up. Like I said, there's Vigilante, another dude that I don't know the name of. But I don't know, if you know deep DC lore and Peacemaker characters, then you might actually get some references. But
I don't at all. Is Vigilante the guy with the visor and the sword?
Yeah.
Oh,
yep,
I saw
him.
that great scene with him, like, insulting a bunch of neo-Nazis at the prison table and kicking their asses. That was a cool scene, yeah.
That was episode 4, I think. His character is hilarious.
He's very, like, he's like, I'm here to kick ass. That's all I'm here to do, is just kick everyone's ass.
His character is fucking hilarious. Like, the show is really funny. It does humor really well, but it balances it all greatly. I do think you would like it.
I'll have to watch it. Me and my wife are looking for something to watch because segueing into our next segment is I watched The Resident Alien because everyone was telling me to watch The Resident Alien because it's really good. So my wife and I started to watch that. Let me pull a trailer up for it. And we got to episode 7 and I couldn't finish it. Neither could my wife. The thing is that like I want to know more about. I thought it was going to be a lot more alien-y, like him having to adapt to Earth and do things and like, you know, constantly showing us the stuff that he does know and diving into his history, which I'm sure they do get into that maybe later. We're in episode 7 of 10 and they haven't yet, but it just seemed like it was just a really awkward guy like stumbling his way through everything, and I couldn't get into it. And what the final straw for me was episode 7. Let me pull up the trailer fast. Is when like they take his spoilers for the old show. They find his ship. The government finds his ship, right? And they have like people watching the area where the ship was, and he goes to visit it. He reaches out to it, and then through like pure idiocracy, because everyone apparently has an IQ of 12, they decide that they don't need to follow him or arrest him or do anything to them because he's got to be in more episodes. And I was like, fuck this. And then he tries to get his wife to like, he's constantly drugging his wife so he can go do stuff. And she's finally like, I'm leaving, and he goes like, oh, but I want dinner. I'm like, but you just said you wanted to get her. The character's motivations are all over the place, and I couldn't, he can't figure out what he wants. And I don't, and as a viewership, it affects the story because the story doesn't know where it wants to go, because she said at the beginning of the episode, the snow's going to melt in a couple of weeks. Fast forward 8 months later, like, what snow stays around? Like, he's in Colorado. He's not in Alaska or Antarctica. The snow will melt. So it's just, the time thing doesn't line up for me. And he's playing it for me when I watch Andy Tunick, who's a really talented actor, play this role. I just feel like he's playing somebody who's on like a spectrum. And like, that's really it. Like, he doesn't really do anything like alien-y. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have like tentacles. He doesn't have to like eat weird food or do weird things. So I just feel like he's just a really awkward guy. You know what I mean? Like, you get what I'm saying? You know? Like,
Yeah, it's fair. I've never checked the show out. I've heard good things though, so it is interesting that you kind of fell on the other side of it. I mean, I like the main like actor in it, but I don't know. I'll probably skip it.
it
It
has
never like I've seen a bunch of trailers for it and stuff. It just never really compelled me all that much, honestly.
it does have some funny moments. Like, Alan Tudyk definitely has some really interesting like dynamics, and he has some great one-liners and some really funny scenes, but like the overarching story of everybody in the town and him, and like, you're asking me to swallow this huge pill that an alien who knows nothing about humans is masquerading as a doctor, and he's like, oh, I can do anything by Googling, but it's just like, it doesn't do a good job explaining it. Like, he kind of acts like a moron sometimes. I don't understand why. It's not really explained. It's just, it's weird, but it just, to me, like, I'm not seeing an alien. I'm seeing someone who maybe doesn't understand social cues, and that joke only goes for so long. You know, I don't think I didn't need 7 hours, because the episodes are very long. The episodes are 45 minutes to an hour long. They're long. So, like, I don't need 7 episodes of that. You know what I mean? Like, I need more, and I kept waiting for the show to give me more, and it doesn't. Maybe everything after episode 8 picks up, but I stopped halfway between episode 7. Sam's here. So episode 7 is right after the government takes his ship, and they and he asked his wife to stay, and I was like, I checked out after that.
Well, good old Sam Chandler, Shacknews staff member, checking in here in the chat. He enjoyed Resident Alien, which is good. I'm glad that Sam liked the show. I think a couple people on staff have watched the show. Denny said he watched Only Murders in the Building, and he's enjoying it.
Yeah,
He's
Murder
also
in the Buildings
enjoying
was good.
Ghosts. So Ghost is good, Denny. That's interesting because I've seen trailers for that show, but like I couldn't get like a read on it. I was like, this looks like one of those shows that's gonna be canceled by like next week. But I don't know. He said he got picked up for season 2, and Denny says he likes it, so maybe it's good. Have you seen that where it's like the woman moves into the house and she can like see the ghosts and communicate with them? Like the house is haunted. It's not like scary.
Mm-mm.
They're just like,
oh, they're just people.
like,
It's kind of like what was
yeah.
that show they did? The UK show that they brought over to the US was about like a vampire, a ghost, and a werewolf. Being Human. Excuse me, Being Human.
Okay.
Which similar to that, where like there's ghosts and they're just kind of around. They're not doing anything hurtful. They're just kind of there, and like, it's a sitcom. Denny, sorry.
Sitcom, not. I don't know if it's a sitcom. It's like a drama comedy kind of thing. Yeah, it's a comedy. He says. Interesting. I might have checked that one out. What's that on? I know wasn't that on like TV? I don't think is that on streaming at all, Denny? Either way though.
So, but
Greg.
I gave it a chance. I did give it a chance.
Yeah.
But in the long run, it asks you to swallow a lot of big pills. The time that the show spends, like, I don't know if it's been 4 months, a year, 6 months. Like, obviously the snow's still there, so it was supposed to be a few weeks, and then it turns into 2 months. It's just the timeline's very confusing, and I find it a hard time believing that when his wife finally came, I'm like, finally, like, someone's gonna realize this guy is missing after 4 months. You know what I mean? Like, and like, I'm waiting for that to kind of catch up to him, but it just doesn't. And I tried so hard, but like, I'm not interested in any of the characters. Everyone is like extremely dumb. Like, even the alien, I just can't deal with too many stupid characters that don't know how to do shit. And I can also see what's happening like a mile away. It's the whole Denny, he's gonna find his humanity. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that like, it's that classic fish out of water story, right? Fish out of water story, hates everything about small town living in humans, and then by the end of the movie, oh, they're not so bad, and I'm human just like all of you, like that kind of stuff. The humanity was inside me the whole time. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad you gave me your thoughts on it.
I gave it a shot. I gave it an honest shot to 7 episodes.
Yeah.
So
That's all. That's a lot of episodes as well, because I probably wouldn't have made it that far if I wasn't really feeling it. But Greg, I'm curious, how would you feel about potentially doing some generational gapping?
I don't have any questions. I had my Udi incident, and then like the cat had diarrhea, and like it was just this morning was like hitting the ground running. Like it was just like my wife's like, "Hey, you need to get up at like 7:30," and I'm like, "Why? It's 7:30," and she's like, "Buffy has diarrhea. I need you to clean her, and I need to go to work 'cause I'm late." And I'm like, so my day started out just fucking a literal shit show. So
oh yeah, actually, like an actual shit show.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it was difficult. This whole morning has been just one thing after another. And then you were like, "Are we doing this thing?" Because I was getting my light set up and my camera wasn't working, and it was just like, I'm looking forward to what else today throws at me to like throw me off my balance. Like I'm not having a bad day. People are having a much worse day than me today. I'm having a very off unbalanced day, and it's really weird.
No, you're all good. Here we've only got like 7 minutes until the hour, and then we've got a Halo stream coming up an hour after we end. I can talk about one more movie that I watched, then we can get on out of here.
Yes.
We can bring our challenge back next week. So I watched Being John Malkovich.
You finally watched it. That's an interesting film.
Yeah, which you had recommended. Some friends and I were looking for a movie to watch. It just came up when we were searching, and I was like, "Yeah, let's watch that." I was like, "It's been on my radar for a while," and it was good. I liked it. It was funny. I liked them being like, their office was on like the 7.5 floor. They were like had like ducked down or going through it. I liked it visually from there. The concept was very like bizarre, but I loved how they shot it. Where like when the people would come back from being him and they just like shoot out onto the ground. It was very well done. Sam said such an arty movie. Yeah, it does get a bit artsy, but I can dig that. I like it.
It has a lot of like interesting themes and subtext about like, you know, like how we romanticize celebrities' lives and how celebrities can have just as many problems as we do, you know what I mean, and how they want their private. There's a lot of privacy concerns there because they don't necessarily control John. They just see the world as he's seeing it, right? So they don't like physically control him. And like one of the girls like it makes her gay. Like it's really like it has these like huge impact on all these weird characters. It's like really psychological damaging, not psychological, just psychological impact on these characters. One person realizes she's gay, another person, you know, doesn't want to do it anymore. John Malkovich goes inside his own brain. Like he goes inside the door and it's like it's really interesting.
It is good. And I also like what it kind of has a bit of commentary on just the idea of like likeness and like having the rights to things and like what's morally correct. Like when Malkovich is telling them, he's like, "Stop doing this shit." It's like, "It's my head. Like I want you to stop." And more or less they're like, "I mean, we're still gonna be there. Like you can't stop us. Like we're not. You don't have any ground to stand on. Like we keep doing this." And I was like, "Damn, that's crazy." Especially when you think of like where a lot of tech is and stuff like that. But yeah, it was very good. I like the concept of it. I'm trying to remember because I was talking about a movie on this show before, and you had compared it. You were like, "Oh, it sounds like Being John Malkovich," but it was something else that I had watched and was talking about.
They become somebody else, right? They get to see the world through their other eyes or whatever.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank now. I'll have to just like DM you if I remember it. But it's cool. I quite liked it. But I wanted to get that squeeze that review in there because, you know, I am watching a whole lot of movies in between my Scream rewatches. So there you go. Being John Malkovich, quite a good flick. It was actually the second to last movie I watched. So I need to find some stuff to watch over the weekend here. Starting with Spaceballs tomorrow, because folks, before we leave, I need to remind you, tomorrow, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Shacknews Twitch channel, we will be watching Spaceballs, the classic comedy spoof film. All you need is Amazon Prime subscription. You can watch it with us on Twitch. Even if you don't have a subscription, you can still watch it. Just find your own way to watch the dang movie and hit play with us, and we will enjoy it together.
Find your own way. Fun. You spend $4, sir. You spend the $4. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure you can figure it out. But yes, and that will be tomorrow. But after movie night tomorrow, Pop the Goes the Culture. Pop Goes the Culture will return next Thursday. for our first show of February. So, folks, as always, I am Donovan Erskine. That is Greg Burke. We thank you for hanging out with us, and we will see you tomorrow for Friday night movie nights, and then next week for episode 52 of Pop Goes the Culture. Peace out. See ya.